Hey everybody, this is Bob, and tonight I'm talking to Glen Tickle. Glenn has just told me that he's from New Jersey.
Correct.
So are you part of the Hoboken Tickles?
No, I'm other side of the state. I'm out by
Oh, okay.
Pennsylvania, not out by New York. Are there tickles in Hoboken? I know there's a
I,
few of us around.
I have no idea. I just thought, wouldn't it be funny to say the name of a city in your last name? Because it
Yeah,
sounds like if there was some kind of esports slash comedy, Olympics kind of thing. It could be the Hoboken Tickles.
yeah, I'm on board. I'll
You're on board.
sign.
Oh,
I'll
well, then there you go. But you
yeah.
said you're not in Hoboken, so
No,
what would you be?
I mean
The
the New York Jets and New York Giants play in East Rutherford, New Jersey,
right? That's
so I
true.
can I can drive the hour into Hoboken.
So you'd be the East Rutherford Tickles.
Yeah, I really think we gotta. They either have to change it to New Jersey or move. It's ridiculous that we just let that stand as a state. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's because New York's so nice they named it twice, so they get away with a lot of stuff other people don't get away with.
Yeah,
Is there a New Jersey, New Jersey? Because if there was, then they could pull that
there's
kind of
Jersey
crap.
City, New Jersey.
Doesn't count. The
That's probably the
Camdenton Tickles.
closest.
Yeah, maybe not. Because Camden, New Jersey,
Yeah,
is got the same MO as St. Louis, Missouri these days, which is being a very rough place.
I was gonna say, is it having a sick aquarium? Because that's
No, a high murder rate, I think, is what we're going for
uh,
on
so
that. Because, yeah, St. Louis
murder
is.
aside, the aquarium, lovely.
Uh, that could be another one, the Camden Murderers.
Yeah, and you guys have a great chess museum.
Right, exactly. You brought it back around to the chess. I was going to say, how do you even know that? I only found out that there's a chess museum because my son told me. He's like, I'm going to the chess museum. And I said, are you leaving town? No, it's in St. Louis. I'm like, what? That's
Yeah,
just
I don't know
doesn't seem
my
like something.
I don't know my St. Louis geography very well. I was there over the summer, but it seemed pretty like downtown-ish. It seemed in like a pretty main area.
I believe it's in what that we refer to as the Central West End, which is not downtown for St. Louis. If you're downtown, then you're near the Arch.
Yeah, it was a short drive from there to the
Yeah,
Arch.
there's a hop, skip, and a jump from the Arch. You can go to the is it the World Chess Museum?
Yeah, I believe it's
Yeah,
uh it's the
yeah,
it's the World Chess Hall of Fame, and then there's the
yeah.
museum in there. Uh,
Right.
because St. Louis resident, what's his first name? Robert. I want to say Robert Sinkfield. He's a very rich guy who loves chess, so he's put a lot of money into like making St. Louis kind of the
The
default
chess.
chess capital of the world, and
Yeah.
it seems to be working.
Well, you know about it, and
Yeah,
now I know about it. So, I mean, it's going to be a slow road, but
yeah.
eventually, I think everybody will know about it.
It is you guys do have my favorite sports team name. The professional chess team in St. Louis is the St. Louis Archbishops,
Oh
which
yeah,
is a rare double pun. So you gotta love it.
yeah. I think that's. I think they actually named themselves after a Monty Python skit, but let's not spoil it.
Yeah,
If you remember, there was a the bishop. Remember anyway.
I do.
Oh, okay, good. So, Glenn, thanks for talking to me tonight.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And so, tell us a little bit. Like, is Tickle's really your last name? That was my
Yeah.
first thought.
There's a place in England called Tick Hill,
Uh-huh.
and it got, as best as we can tell, it got like run together over the years from there. Like that's where the name originated, and then as they left, we're just a family of mumblers, so it just got squished from Tick Hill down to Tickle,
Tickle.
and now we're cursed as a family.
Apparently, you're all related to Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones. Oh, Tickle.
Yeah, you
So
just
it looks
can't.
like
We
you're in
don't
a Swiss
enunciate.
chalet, though. To be honest, it looked like you're
Oh
in
yeah, it's my beautiful mid-century convert. This was I'm in my dining room right now. I do a lot of virtual shows from a shed in my yard, but I was in the process of redoing it, and then I wasn't doing as many virtual shows, so I just didn't finish. So I've been doing them from my dining room.
COVID ended and I gave up on it.
Yeah, it was. I was genuinely. I was doing for I think December 2021. I was averaging like 4 or 5 virtual shows a day, for like corporate gigs and stuff. Yeah, it was insane.
That must be exhausting.
Yeah, the most I did in a day was 10, and it really was like after the second or third one, I had to start telling people on these Zoom calls. I was like, "Hey, if I start repeating a joke, you can just tell me because I don't remember anymore. Like nothing feels real. I've been sitting in a box in my backyard for hours just reciting the same 30 minutes of comedy material over and over again.
I'm in a shed. It's got a tin roof and it's baking my brain.
Yeah, I'm like, you just go ahead and like type next in the comments and I'll just move on.
Heard it.
Yeah.
That Glen Tickle, he's a repeater. That's what he is.
I've gotten it too now because my dry bar special on YouTube did some numbers. So sometimes I'll be doing like a virtual show and then I'll start a joke that was on that special and people in the comments will be like, "Oh yeah, I saw this one." And it's like, "Oh, do you want me to do a different one?" And they're like, "No, I like it." It's like, "Oh, good," because I was gonna do
no more St. Louis Chess Museum jokes, please. That's what they always say.
The number of times I've tried to bring chess up on stage,
archbishops,
to just silence.
So, and so you also, we want to make sure that everybody knows that you're not in Pennsylvania. You are in New Jersey.
Correct.
Because obviously that's become a bit of a situation for you. That Pennsylvanians are adopting you against your will.
It is a thing. It's where I'm at in New Jersey. I am like very close to the border. So I remember when I got to college, you meet a bunch of new people. You're talking about where you're from. I went to college in New Jersey. A lot of people went to the school were also from Jersey. We're all just talking about what part of Jersey we're from.
What was the college? What was the college?
Ramapo College of New Jersey in beautiful Mahwah in Bergen County. Most people haven't. You're not alone.
It sounds like you're mumbling again.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard one to say, especially It's
is it a dental college? Because it sounds like everybody's face is numb.
It is a lovely. It is like Rutgers. It's another state school, but they have like a football team people are aware of. It's like if Rutgers had like an artsy little brother. That's cool. Ramapo.
Very nice.
Yeah, because they had some sports teams, but none of them. It wasn't like ever a big thing on campus.
Like Bubkers or Bubkers instead of Rutgers.
And when, the running joke when I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm out near Phillipsburg," everyone's like, "Isn't that Pennsylvania?" Because it's like so far west.
Yeah.
And
it's not even that. I mean, the space wise, New Jersey's not a huge state. Honestly,
it's really destroyed my perception as I travel the country performing, because if I leave, the farthest I can drive and still be in New Jersey is like just over 3 hours, gets me down to the southern tip of Cape May. So if I'm performing, let's say Missouri, if I'm in St. Louis and I get asked to do a gig anywhere else in the state, like the night before or after, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll already be out there. That's fine." And then I'll look it up and it's like, "Oh, that's 9 hours away."
Yeah, exactly.
I shouldn't have agreed to that.
Gets worse the further you go west. It's like they cut up these states. They just got tired. And they're like, let's just make a bunch of squares and make them bigger. And
we just need to get people on some land. Let's make some big rectangles and see what happens.
Those mountains don't matter. We'll just put them in one. I'm surprised they just didn't make that its own state. Rocky Mountain State.
Yeah.
Would have made it a lot easier.
Just the whole thing.
The whole thing's just one state. Yeah, Rocky Mountain State. I don't know. There's a bunch of goats or something there. So now one of the things that caught my eye was that first of all, tell us a little bit about, because you mentioned you had a special on YouTube. Tell us a little bit about because you have a career, and you probably should talk about that.
I'm a stand-up comedian.
Not right now, you're not, sir.
No, now I'm seated talking to a cartoon cat. That's right. It's a fun change of pace.
It took you over 10 minutes to even mention that, which is
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to bring it up.
I don't mind. You talk about it all you want.
No, I love it. It reminds me of Space Ghost Coast to Coast,
Right.
which is it's comics are always like clamoring for late night TV spots, and I'm like, the only talk show I ever like genuinely really cared about was Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Have you seen the Dana Gould where he's doing the Planet of the Apes?
Dr. Zaius. Yeah. Those are really fun.
That's very much Space Ghost-ish of a way. Yeah.
I guess I did also like it when Alf had a talk show briefly, but I don't think that's
who was the human?
I can never
Max
remember.
Wright, but what was his name? Louis or something. He was Louis. I can't help it.
Oh, is the dad on the show?
The dad, yeah.
Oh, Danny.
Was his name Danny?
Yeah, it was.
You sure? I think you're thinking Full House. You think
that was Danny Tanner.
Twins was...
Alf. I'm trying to remember the family.
But Alf would always say a name and be like Louis. Like it wasn't Louis, but I just Louis. It was like whoa.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Anyway,
I'm trying to remember.
Alf is unimportant. He's dead. Let's talk about Glenn.
Yeah, I did. I do. I have an Alf spec script that I wrote. Because every couple of years they talk about every couple of years they talk about bringing Alf back, and it will never happen because Willie,
because it had that.
It was the L.
Yeah.
But there's a clip of Alf just repeatedly shouting the N-word on set.
Oh.
It was like an in between takes thing. So it was. Alf was running the same time that LA Law was running.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an episode of LA Law where they had to put a witness on the stand, but the witness had Tourette's.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was like a very special episode to like teach people what Tourette's was. And so the witness kept shouting the N-word on the stand. So Alf is like doing an impression of that character because they were filming the night after that aired. And I'm like, that doesn't make it okay. But like, that's the context. If anyone is wondering why.
Who was the guest star that had to do that on Law and Order?
It was, I forget the dude's name, but he was one of those guys where it's like, oh, it's that guy.
Oh, it's that. And he was on Mork and Mindy. Yeah, that guy.
Probably. Yeah. And he was the timing lines up. This guy was probably on Mork and Mindy at one point.
Exodore. I think he played Exodore on Mork and Mindy.
But it was so that's why. So every time I see the headline, they're like, oh, Alf reboot in the works. I'm like, yeah, until somebody remembers that clip is out there. And then they decide
they just keep it out. That would just be free attention. They'll probably bring it, they'll probably leak it. You know,
it's on YouTube if people want to watch it after.
I mean, they'll write their own press release.
Well, that was the spec script that I wrote was Alf having to like apologize for it basically because they were doing a reboot of the show. And it did not get me hired to write the Alf reboot because they, as I predicted, decided not to do it.
Not yet. With the UFOs in Congress. Alf is going to get set up soon again.
I'm telling you, I would love it. I think they can do it. I just think it's going to scare them off once they remember that clip's out there.
We'll have Alf in Congress. Yes, it's true.
Well, that was the kind of the ignoble end to Alf was they were trying to bring him back, and they did like that TV movie where he was getting chased by I think it was the Air Force. And it ends with them catching him, and then it just cuts to black, and then you never see Alf again.
Never hear Alf again.
He comes back for the talk show. It was like, oh, Alf was a character playing this other character on the show. Like it wasn't
right.
It wasn't. It was like, oh yeah, when I was doing my show, Alf. It's like when Chevy Chase had a talk show and he would talk about Fletch or whatever. Like that's how Alf would talk about the show on his talk show. Talking a lot about Alf.
It seems to be a thing for you.
I loved it so much as a kid.
Did you have an Alf doll or anything like that?
I did. Yeah, I had a talking one when I was a kid. I have one somewhere in my house that has a Christmas hat on that a friend of mine dropped off just in my mailbox randomly one day, like no note or anything, just stuffed an Alf dressed as Santa Claus doll in
I
my
got this
mailbox.
the garage sale for 50 cents. I thought you'd like it.
Yeah, and it was, like, in August, and it was like, "What?" I mean, this is, like, a genuinely very nice gift that I appreciate, but what like,
Yeah.
who left this in my mailbox?
I got you this and a brush so you can brushes for
Yeah. Oh, it's so calming. You just give give
yeah,
him a little shakedown at the end of the night, braid his hair like I do with my daughters.
to talk, talks to me, tells me things. You're going to have to credit him for writing your material soon.
Yeah.
This
The
this uh,
next
this
special
special is
written and
credited
performed
to
by
my
Glen
Alf
Tickle,
doll.
also written by Alf.
I see you have an aha drink,
Yes.
which is
What do we
kind of funny.
what do we got today? This is a,
Uh,
blackberry lemonade.
oh, really?
It's
What's the better part of that? The blackberry or the lemonade?
the blackberry's not really coming through at all, if I'm being
It's
honest.
mostly just lemonade then.
Mostly, it's very the lemon you're getting the lemon for sure.
Yeah. Hmm. So how long have you been a stand-up, sit-down virtual comedian?
I started in 2009,
Oh, okay.
and so it was,
We're
yeah,
talking about
October
Alf. I just
2009.
assumed it was longer than that.
No, I'm just old. Um, yeah, I think I was 26. Yeah, because I'm 40 now. So yeah, that's how time works, right? So yes, I started in 2009. I went to when I was at beautiful Ramapo College of New Jersey in beautiful Mahwah, New Jersey. I was going
Mhm,
for film, and then my film career didn't really take off upon
mhm.
graduation because it turns out folks aren't clamoring to get to hand out film deals to kids who went to a mid-tier New Jersey state school.
I
So,
know I know the feeling. I have a film degree. Isn't that funny?
oh, nice.
I'm serious. I do.
I believe
So,
you.
yeah.
This is what we
For a
do with
second,
film
you're
degrees
like,
now.
"You do?"
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
this is what
do,
happens when
actually.
you have film degrees now. You
Exactly. This is what
end
you
up
do.
on
That's
the
how you
it
fill your time.
genuinely it genuinely, came in handy when we started doing stuff like virtual shows because it's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, yeah, I have a nice camera. I know how to light a room." Like,
There
I
you
can
go.
make my
See?
video look nice. Because a lot of them, it's just like people were just holding their phones and sitting in their car, and it's like, just the production value here is trash.
They're in the drive-through. Give me just a moment. I'm ordering, and then they
Yeah.
come back to the show.
The
Yeah.
first virtual show I did was a college gig, and I had, like, slide presentation, like, I really was, like, making most of the medium since they
Mhm.
were doing it on YouTube Live, like, I did a short video that I played in the middle of my act, I had pictures queued up, and then, after that one, it's like, "Oh, I think I'm trying too hard. I don't think I need that part of it,"
Wait a
but
minute. I need to be the lazy stand-up, sit-down
well, not
virtual
even
comedian.
lazy, it's just like, it was like a ton. I mean, granted, colleges pay well enough to make to have made that worth my time, but then when I started doing regular virtual shows of just stand-ups, and it's like, everyone is just, like, in their pajamas, in the back seat of their car. I'm like, "If I can just make the video look okay,
Hey,
then"
everybody can't afford a Swiss chalet like you, Glenn. They could live in
yeah,
the back seat of their car, and they're trying to
my
make
fake
it.
wood beams in my, converted
Uh-huh.
garage dining room. This used to be outside at one point on this house. There was like, an outdoor faucet sticking out of my dining room wall. This used to be the
That
carport of the house, and they, like,
that's a pot
closed it
filler.
off.
That's a pot filler. That's what you say.
Yeah,
Whenever you're selling, you're like, "Yeah, we got it's a little low, but that's, for a stove." You fill the
yeah.
pot.
It's been painted over a couple times, the handle's not on it, but it's, like, right next to, my coffee bar setup. And I was like, "I should just turn it back on so I don't have to walk back and forth to the kitchen to, like, fill up the kettle or whatever."
There you go. The only problem is there's probably no drain, but,
No, yeah, that's covered up.
yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
it'll be
That's
fine.
what you do with all those leftover diapers. You said you had a kid, so
Yeah, we could probably got a couple laying around.
yeah, you got a case of diapers somewhere that didn't get. All of a sudden, the kid magically learns how to go to the bathroom and the toilet, and well, now I
That's
already paid $20 for this.
Yeah, that is a real, concern when you're potty training your kid. You're like, "Alright, I do need to get more do I get the big box?
Hmm.
Because that's,
Hmm.
cheaper per diaper." But,
Right. I'm gonna
if
get stuck
if
with
potty
them.
training clicks this week, then I'm sitting on a lot of diapers, and I'm done having kids, so, you
I'm not
know
much for charity, so I'm not giving these suckers away. But So
Yeah, like, hey, do you want half a box of diapers?
can
What'd you do with
can
the
I
other half,
eBay
you
these
weirdo?
half a box? The other half is the top to an outdoor faucet and a few other things from the junk drawer.
Yeah.
So in 2009, so what, I mean, how in the hell did you go, guess what? Guess what, mom and dad or whoever, I'm going to do stand-up comedy.
Sure. It was like I said, my film work had kind of dried up. I was doing some freelance
So
stuff.
were you graduated at this point?
Yeah, I was
Oh, okay.
26 when I
Yeah.
started. Um, and it was like I all the shorts and stuff I was making in college were comedies. So and then stand-ups were getting hired for writing jobs that I was not getting hired for. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I know how jokes work and I don't mind standing in front of people. So if that'll get me a writing job, I'll just go do that. And as soon as I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is better actually.
I
This
like this. I like this much better.
yeah, the immediacy of this is too hard to compete with.
So
Because
you
I
didn't.
still, I write and shoot sketch stuff with friends of mine sometimes,
Mm,
but it can be a long time from when you have a funny idea for a video to anybody seeing it, like, if it's you gotta write it, then you gotta rewrite it, then maybe you get money to film it, so then you gotta cast it, and then you're editing, and
yeah.
then maybe it gets in a festival, and then it could be 2 years before you get it in front of an audience. And if you're on stage at an open mic, you can say whatever you want and find out if people like it
There
immediately.
you go.
When you're
So let's say
starting out, they probably won't like it. that
you're
that
you,
took some figuring
you're
out.
waiting on the money part. What you got to do is just do it and then stick it out there, and then you know what? Oh, I'm done, and then you'll be done with
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's that we did I did a feature my last year of college for like no money, and it was like, I can't. I used up all my favors on this one.
What was the title of that
It was
feature?
called Several Ways to Die Trying. I'm not sure if it is streaming anywhere. It was
Hmm.
on when Netflix did DVDs through the mail. You could get it through that. You could get it through Netflix. Um,
Or what was it called? Speedster? What they call it that one?
yeah, when they switched over for a bit.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but
available on
when it
Speedster.
was streaming on Amazon, but I think they pulled off because this was 2006,
Mhm.
so it was standard definition.
Oh,
So I
right.
think
So,
I think they pulled just everything that was
yeah, unless you're like
SD
I
down.
Dream of Jeannie or Gilligan's Island, you're not going to get
Yeah.
anything on.
But I do have several hundred copies of the DVD in my attic right now.
Yeah. You should just give those away at your shows. You
I've
should just
tried.
say,
I put them
"Hey,
on the
who
merch
wants a
table
free
sometimes.
DVD?" Oh no, don't just throw them. Just throw them at people.
I think everyone who wants one at this point has one.
Well, your parents, maybe they want all the rest of them. You say, "Yeah,
They
in
My
case
dad
you
will
lose any."
occasionally call me and be like, "Hey, I found another box." And
He's like,
but it's wild because
"Come get these, please."
we shot it for so little money that when Netflix ordered just like I forget, I'm sure it was whatever was their minimum amount. It was
Mhm.
made like 200 or whatever. That order like covered the cost of production.
Oh wow, well,
Uh,
that's nice.
and even like it didn't make any money, but it didn't lose money either, which for a
Ooh,
first time feature is like an impressive statistic.
yeah,
And I was thinking about it the other day because I'm like, I did sell a movie to Netflix. Like
you put that on your resume.
I've thought about it because it bugs me when people like exaggerate uh claims on their
I,
credit.
I, I hate to tell you, Glenn, but you're in the business of exaggeration.
Oh, I know. And it's like, well, because like I have a small part in the movie. The movie was available through Netflix.
Mhm.
So it
It
feels
wasn't
like
because you
I
got
could
seen in the mirror, was it? Because it wasn't like, oh, there's the guy behind the camera in the mirror.
no, you can at one point, but it's also I was the coach at one point.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was it's like, yeah, I could technically say I've been on Netflix, but that feels like a lie and I don't want to do it, you know?
Well,
But then
then
I see other people who are like, "Oh yeah, I was on Saturday Night Live." I'm like, "No, you weren't." and like people will know that. They're like, oh, well, I was an extra.
It was the early '80s. Whenever you can't remember anybody.
Yeah, it was one of the Ebersol years. No one knows that. Like, oh, I was a extra in a sketch that got cut at dress rehearsal. I was like, well, then bad news. You weren't on the show.
I was in dress rehearsal though. They recorded
you're
it.
Close. You're close. I'm sure that was a very fun day for you, but that doesn't count. Also, it's like the most well-known comedy show. People know who was and was not on it.
You're policing these poor people. They're just trying to make a living, you know.
I mean, I don't rat them out to anybody. I just say it and like.
Well, let's just rat one person. Who was the person that said that? We could just rat them out.
No.
You thought about it. I could tell.
Yeah, that's not a hypothetical example.
It was Chad.
Oh, it's always a Chad, isn't it?
It's always a Chad. That's right. So, you made the transition from being a film guy, to being a comedy guy / writer, and so then I guess that took off. Then, huh?
It paid off. I mean, I did eventually get a variety of writing jobs over the years, but like I said, I mean, once I started doing comedy, I was like, oh, this is tremendous. Actually, like, I've always been desperate for attention, and this is a great way to get it. So. It was, when you start, you're not very good. I'm sure I was no different, but it went well enough the first couple times that I kept doing it. Like if it went terribly, I would have stopped. But it was like, even if I got a couple laughs in the 5 minutes you get at an open mic, I was like, all right, we can come back next time and do a little better. But it was for a while just kind of like a hobby, just like a thing to do. And I think for a lot of people, it just stays that. And I've heard other comics, like other professional comedians, complain about people who aren't like, don't go in 100% on it, who are just like screwing around in their local comedy scene. And like sometimes they'll like get a feature spot at the club or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but that's fine. Like
they're in my way. I was on Saturday Night Live, for Christ's sake. I should be up there as a feature.
Yeah, I'm like, they're not the ones.
He was on Saturday Night Live, even in a cut skit.
Yeah. And it's like, if you can't compete with the guys who are doing this as a fun little hobby, then I don't know that they're the problem,
Norm Macdonald told me to fuck off. I mean, honestly, who gets to do that? Who? Not anymore.
He was really mad at me specifically.
Yeah, he was mad. Him and Chris Kattan were fighting, and I got in the middle. Sorry.
I was just trying to do the math. I'm like, were they on the same season?
Yeah, they were. And actually, they did fight. That's a whole thing. But there's a whole backstory to all that one.
Yeah.
So, but sounds. I wasn't there, by the way. I was never on.
Yeah, you were in the background of a sketch.
I was never on. I've never been on a skit that's cut. I barely even watched during that time period, to be honest with you.
That was peak SNL for me.
Well, there you go.
Because it's the thing of like everybody always talks about. They're like, oh, it was so much better years ago. I'm like, well, it's because you were 12. Like getting to stay up late and watch TV felt real cool because you were a child. Like that's why it's been pretty consistent,
I don't think the kids that grew up with Gilbert Gottfried are saying that, but that's okay.
Yeah,
because he wasn't
like
Gilbert Gottfried.
Anthony Michael Hall was there. It was those are the golden
days. Yeah, the Billy Crystal years.
Yeah,
maybe
marvelous,
not. Baby, marvelous. So, I mean, is the other thing I want. Well, actually, let's go a little bit more on the comedy. I don't want to keep it too late because, but I do want to.
Oh no, I feel so bad about mixing up the time earlier.
Oh, well, we're gonna go all night. Fucking night.
Yeah, you can play on
Honey,
that.
Put the coffee on. So then, I mean, this is what you're doing. You're writing stuff. You're performing. You made it through COVID by performing in your shed. I mean,
so many shows from the shed.
I mean, that's fantastic.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Do you think there was any kind of pity bookings because of the COVID situation?
Oh, maybe.
I know that you're not good enough. I'm just mean because of the situation that people be like, we should help Glenn out because it's COVID and he can't go anywhere. He's
I
stuck in
do feel
Pennsylvania.
I do feel like some maybe comedy in general, they're like, we don't really need a entertainer, but like, there's not a lot for them right now. I
Yeah, when
appreciate.
David
I'll
Spade's
take
performing from
pity
the back of
gigs.
his
I don't
car,
care.
then that's really makes people feel bad.
Yeah,
So,
I'll take
um,
a pity gig once in a while. I'm
hey,
not.
it's a
I'm not
gig,
opposed.
right? I mean, that's part of the game, isn't it? So, I mean,
Yeah,
so you said you traveled. So, I mean, do you travel like all over the country?
I do.
And
There's I think about I can't keep it straight in my head anymore, but only a few states left that I've not been to or performed in.
oh, you should
Uh,
get there's an app called BEEN. Anyway, you can track where you've gone in the world. You kind of it's like one of those maps you put stickers on, but it's an app.
yeah,
Anyway,
I'll
you
check.
should do that.
I've been looking
Yeah,
for one of those because it is most of them.
yeah.
It is just like the Pacific Northwest I've never been to, the Dakotas, I think Mississippi and
You're probably better off.
Arkansas, Louisiana, like that area. So it's like Northwest and like Central South. Everywhere else I've
So
been and
you've
told
been to
jokes before.
Kansas, Nebraska.
Yeah. Oh, I'm might as well move to Nebraska for as frequently as I perform there.
Are you an honorary Cornhusker? Are you?
Yeah, one of my best friends, who I started, he lived out in Pennsylvania when I started, and we were doing open mics together. And then he's moved around a couple of times over the years, but he is back in Nebraska in his wife's hometown of 400 people.
Oh, great.
So any excuse he can find to like book a show somewhere and get me to drive out to Nebraska to see him, I am there.
Oh, fantastic! That sounds nice.
It is. It's great. I always love to go see my friend Pat.
Hey, Pat, how's it going? I'm sorry you didn't really get on Saturday Night Live, but he didn't out you, so you're good.
He's got some legit credits. He's also an actor, so he was on that HBO Perry Mason reboot.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't watch that because I
I
mean, once you see Raymond Burr, I mean, what are you gonna do? He was the
Yeah.
original Perry Mason, So.
Well, what you got to do is you got to just make friends with somebody who had a pretty minor role in the show, and then and then
and
you
then you'll
just
like
kind of
it.
like give it half your attention until you see your
Yeah,
friend, and then you
you'll be
perk
like,
up, and
yeah,
then
Pat, I watched all the episodes.
oh
You
yeah,
can check my history.
yeah, I play through them all.
Yeah,
I have so
all
many
the
friends
way.
who do like who are actors or even just people who do like background work, and then they're like,
Mm,
oh, I'm gonna be on this show. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch the show. Like, yeah, absolutely. If anybody
sure.
asks why, I'll tell them because you did such a good job. I'll support you. I got nothing better to do than watch
You
whatever
handed
episode
that
of TV
smoothie
show my
over the
friend is
counter
on.
with the grace and finesse.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, you're making a go of it. I mean, what kind of life is this for you, traveling around all over the place? I mean, do you drive everywhere? Do they fly you? I
Yeah.
mean, give me a little
I don't
background
like to
into this.
fly.
Oh, well, then they love you. You're like, don't pay me to fly. I'll just drive.
Yeah. And it's just like I had to fly. I did a college in Worcester, Massachusetts one night, and then I had to be at a college in Kansas City the next night.
Holy shit.
And it's like, well, I have to fly that for that. Like I can't
Mm,
do it any other
they
way.
drove. I'm like, man,
And
you're using the
it
extra diapers.
yeah,
Jeez.
I mean I've driven to Kansas City. It's just I didn't have time to do it from Massachusetts the night before.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and I was so worried about the flights getting delayed or canceled and missing the gig.
Hmm.
Uh and it was it was a couple weeks ago. There were terrible storms up here in the Northeast that like shut down all the airports in New York. The one terminal, LaGuardia, was just like under 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was like,
normal at LaGuardia, the old
yeah, it's like
LaGuardia. Yeah.
that's why I don't like I can if I know a storm is I can like leave a little earlier or like maybe take a different route. But if your flight gets delayed, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So
Well,
if
you
I
can
have to fly, I
hop in a
will.
rental and you just drive all night.
Yeah. It's like I'm not afraid of being in an airplane, is I just get really anxious about being late for something. And if it's like east of Omaha, I will probably just drive it. After
Hmm.
that, further than that, I might like
So
I'll price out a flight. See,
what kind of car do you have if you're making all these long distance
I have
driving
a 2017 Honda Fit, which gets rough. Not to give them a plug, but it gets like 40 miles to the
Yeah, I was
gallon.
gonna say that's good gas mileage.
Yeah, it is. It's great. All the seats all fold down flat, so like I can do overnight drives where it's like, all right, it's 3 in the morning. I'm getting a little tired. Let me pull into this rest stop, fold
Uh-huh.
all the seats down, take a little nap, and then keep going when the sun comes up.
Oh my,
And
that's hardcore. I've never slept at a rest stop. I'll be honest with you.
I
It sounds like
I
a
don't love it.
horrifying experience.
uh, Sometimes, I mean, it's like one of the benefits of being a 6 foot tall white dude. It was just like, yeah, like I'm pretty safe most places.
Now, I hate to tell you this, Glenn, but you don't look menacing, and
It's the dimples.
you
I
don't
look too
sound
easy to
menacing to
kill.
me. And I
Yeah,
think
but
that
if you just see me,
you
curled up in the back of a Honda Fit,
know,
I would actually, you know what? I probably look adorable. I assume I look adorable. I just look like a
I
big
was gonna
sleepy teddy
say
bear.
they're like, is that Alf? Um,
Yeah, well, I do bring the doll with me.
you're snuggling the
Yeah,
Alf.
I need something to snuggle in there.
It gets cold in the car at night.
Yeah, Alf keeps me warm.
So that kind of schedule. I mean, is it something that you enjoy? I mean, do you
I
enjoy
do.
that schedule?
Yeah, I try to keep like my kids are 5 and 10, and I like them, so I try to be home as much as I can.
Good
But
for you.
you know, traveling to do comedy is literally my job. So like I have to
Right.
balance that, as I'm planning trips for stuff. Like I have a friend who does cruise ships and he'll be gone for like 3 months at a time. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. And
Right.
because I
That'd be
typically,
tougher, maybe. Mm.
yeah, like I typically work clean. And like a lot of people who've done dry bar also do cruises. He's like, oh, you do well on cruises. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to be gone for 3 months. Like I want to
Yeah.
be at soccer games and stuff.
Well, when they get a little older, they'll be like, "Dad, take us on a cruise."
Well, that's yeah. They are now aware of Disney cruises as a
Yeah, they'll be
thing,
like,
and
you cheap guy, go get a cruise job so we can go along."
yeah. Well, my buddy is like, well, my kids are in their 20s. They don't care. They don't want me to be home. Like that's fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll
But
circle
yeah,
back.
with your kids just being young, so then you try to book things together so that you're gone, like you do a circuit or something, and then you
Yeah,
stay
like
home
I would
for a while.
rather go out for like a 1 week trip than 4 or 5 shorter trips,
Right, onesie
if
twosies.
possible. Plus, I mean, just if you have to drive to Nebraska, you might as well make it worth your while.
I believe that's on their license plate.
Yeah. Like, well,
If
you got to be here anyway. You might
they're
as
gonna
well.
be, you might as well make it worth their
Might
while.
as
We
well
got a
go see Johnny
cheesecake
Carson's house.
factory and the whole works.
Yeah.
And we got the corn palace.
Yeah, I did a chicken festival there last year.
What was the festive part of the chicken thing?
It was the whole thing I think is sponsored by Cane's, the
Oh yeah, love the chicken,
fried
Cane's chicken.
chicken chain you guys have out there.
Yeah,
Um,
good chicken.
but yeah, it was my
Never
friend who
ordered
moved
chicken
out there
dinner.
was
Yeah.
helping organize it, and they're like, "Oh, we think we might want to do comedy this year." He's like, "I know exactly who to get. We can get my friend to come in."
They're like, Pat, we can't get Glen Tickle again. Oh, come
Yeah, every
on.
year, come back, talk about chicken.
Come
Well, it was
on.
weird because when they booked me, between when they asked me to do it and when the event occurred, my wife decided we needed to get backyard chickens. So
Oh, I
by the
saw a
time I
picture
got
with you and the chicken. I was going to
yeah,
ask you about
that's
that.
one of ours. So I think by the time I don't remember,
Is it branded? How do you know it's yours? Maybe it's just a neighbor chicken that came
I
in.
think we had just gotten them when I went out there. Maybe like they were pretty small.
Yeah.
But now like on the new special, like I have a whole section where I talk about the chickens and the ordeal of getting them and how weird it is that
Did they come in the mail?
they were supposed to.
Did they die in the mail?
Probably. The one so they my wife ordered some from a farm in Texas, and then those ones never got here. And so she just went to Tractor Supply and got the exact ones that she wanted. And it's like, why did we bother why do we put these other ones through
Through
the
the
ordeal of the
misery.
mail when you could
Yeah.
have just you could have done this anytime?
I don't think people really. I worked as a courier when I was young in like college,
Oh,
and
really?
I don't think people realize that chickens do come through the mail. And I mean,
Millions every
yeah,
year. I looked it
yeah,
up when she told me this was how they do it, and it was like two and
uh-huh.
a half million to 3 million every year. It
Every
helped
year,
revitalize the economy after the Great Depression,
yeah, all these
because it gave
chickens.
people access to a food source in remote areas. And it's
It's
like,
crazy.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I
So
don't
do
know
you
what
do
happened to the ones
the?
you ordered.
You have chickens for the eggs, or are you
Yeah,
like butchering chickens, or what's
no.
your? No, okay.
I'm a vegetarian, and my wife and kids are not, but I
How'd
can't
that
imagine.
happen?
Oh, just like a decade ago, because it made me sad, so I don't want to do it anymore. But
That they weren't vegetarian, or that you didn't like the meat thing made you sad.
yeah, I stopped eating meat a while ago, like when around the time my first kid was born.
Mhm.
But I'm not like
The
weird and
placenta will
preachy
do
about
that
it.
to you. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's not. The policy has always been like you guys can eat whatever you want.
right.
I'm not gonna make a grand decision that the family is gonna stop eating meat. That sounds insane. Um,
What do you
if
mean?
they
It happens
wanted
every
to,
day.
great, but uh, but also like they're basically just pets. Like I can't imagine. I cannot imagine my wife. It's weird to me, honestly, that my wife and children still eat chicken based on how much they love the 4 chickens that live in our backyard. Uh,
Yeah.
but
I
they
don't know how
do.
long do chickens live. I've never
I don't
thought
know.
about that. Do you have it? Have you got a clue
I'm
how
sure
long
she's
they'll
told me,
live?
but
I
I don't.
mean, just like any family pet, they got a shelf life.
Yeah, I'm sure she has told me. I don't remember.
Hmm. I'm surprised you don't use the eggs or whatever. Or
No,
are
yeah, oh
they?
yeah, we use the eggs.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you just let them hang out in the backyard and you
No,
fill the eggs with the neighbors, or
we do. I mean, because we get 4 every day,
right?
basically. Sometimes there's an extra one. Sometimes it's 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
there's 4 chickens back there, so we have a pretty steady supply of eggs.
The kids
And
ever
when
watch Chicken Run? Because then they'll have a whole, you know,
I don't think they've seen
storyline
it.
that goes with your chickens.
They used to watch Disney's Chicken Little
Chicken
until
Little.
I heard the part where the pig just screams that Darth Vader is Luke's father for no reason, just like blurts it out. And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, you guys aren't allowed to watch this movie anymore." Because I was like trying to keep that from them until they were old enough to
You
watch
wanted to
Empire.
reveal that. You
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
wanted
reveal.
to like sit down and watch Empire with them and have it be like a big
Right.
moment. I don't
Uh-huh.
want a Zach Braff Disney cartoon ruining it. Um,
Wow. Now,
I-
that strikes me. There's a little contrariness in your. You're not going to come down on them to be vegetarian, but for Star Wars,
yeah.
all
Oh, I
hell
take
breaks
Star Wars a
loose.
lot more seriously
Yeah,
than my own diet.
that's that seems interesting to me. It's the
Well, the payoff,
juxtaposition of
like
those two things.
in my mind, I was doing it for them, because I don't remember ever not knowing that. Like I'm 40, but I had seen Star Wars really early, and I don't think my
Mm.
parents really cared one way or the other about which ones we were watching and when.
So
Uh,
yeah, so then
so
I
it's
guess
like
that tells me your parents didn't have you when they were really young.
I think they were. I'm 40 now. They
Mm.
were pretty. I know by the time they were 30, they had all 5 of us.
Okay, but
Uh,
still, they were like teenage
no, yeah, they.
mother
I
like
would say
that.
like
So
probably early 20s, if but
yeah, okay,
um yeah, but I like you can watch YouTube compilations of people showing their kids Empire Strikes Back and it
right.
just blowing their minds, and I'm like I was hoping for that, but they do not care about Star Wars and they already know. And it's
Mm.
like somebody
Yeah, Chicken Little. Mm.
there's a really cute book called Vader's Little Princess about like him being Leia's dad when she was
Mhm.
a little girl. And like it's a really cute book, and somebody gave it to me, and I was like, "Well, I'm not showing this to my kid, but thank you."
I'm burying this in the chicken coop.
Yeah, like this is going in the attic, but thank you for the
Yeah.
thought.
So before we go, I want to get the last thing, and this is really what kind of drew me to contact you was the your obsession or mild obsession, perhaps. I don't know if you want to use the word obsession, but I just did for Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh yeah, I think Obsession is apt.
So I love Buckaroo Banzai. I think it's a fantastic movie.
Me too.
But there's not a lot of people that I've run into. Now I don't live in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, so a little bit more sheltered here in the fields of the Midwest. That like the movie that much. My wife thinks it's stupid. I've watched it many times. Just I'll be like, on a Saturday, I think I'll watch it, and I'll watch it. What's fueled this for you?
Similar to you in that my wife and children don't also enjoy it. Most people that I talk to have not heard of it, or if they have, don't like it. And it's weird because like the people that I meet that do also like it, like remember it fondly from 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I saw it for the first time 5 years ago, and I was like, this is incredible. I love
Oh, really? You didn't even see it when you were a kid?
No, I'd heard of it, and it was, hard to get for a while because before streaming, it was such a flop that like there was a
you with your
VHS
Netflix collection,
and DVD. Yeah. Like they had physical media versions of it, but like there weren't a lot of them. It wasn't a successful movie.
Right.
So
it was supposed to be a sequel because you mentioned it in your stuff there.
Yeah, I stole the title for my special.
Well, nobody knows you stole it. See, now you didn't like the one guy for saying Saturday Night Live, but you just totally nicked a piece of pop culture.
Yeah. Well, you can't copyright a title.
Oh, now you're gonna get all legalese on this. Okay. You are a man of two sides of the coin here.
20 years ago.
You play both sides of it here. I see how this goes.
It really was. It was a joke on my last special, Good Grief. I was editing the title, the end credits for that.
Charles Schultz is going to get you for that, but
and it was, I remembered in the credits for Buckaroo, it says watch for Buckaroo Banzai's next adventure, Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League. Mm-hmm. So I was putting the end credits on this comedy special, and I was like, oh, it'd be funny if I put watch for Glen Tickle's next adventure, Glen Tickle against the World Crime League, and then never addressed it. But then when I was working on this new one, I'm like, well, I don't have a better title. Like I might as well just. But then by the time I decided to like call it that and was like developing, because it's not like the material isn't about Buckaroo Banzai as much as I would have loved to do an hour of comedy about a movie most people haven't seen or like. But there's like visual references to it, like the red mic I'm using right now. I painted red because Buckaroo's is red in the concert scene. I bought a blazer that matched the one he's got on as close as I could get. There's a watermelon on stage so that people would ask me, why is there a watermelon there? I'm not wearing them right now, but I have like red glasses like Buckaroo. And it was like all of these things no one cares about. No, like there have maybe been 2 YouTube comments on the special of someone like pointing out a Buckaroo Banzai thing. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not, that part's not for them. Like that part's for me. That's fun. I like it.
So you're not going to have the Hong Kong Cavaliers whenever you get your late night talk show be a house band?
I would love it. Sadly, I forget his name. The guy who plays the 2 saxophones at the same time died pretty recently, actually. But I'm sure we could get
there's somebody,
a lot of them back together. Lewis Smith he's like teaching acting out somewhere in California. Clancy Brown's still around. I don't think Peter Weller would want to do it. He seems pretty grumpy about when people ask him about stuff.
He's a doctor. He didn't want.
There was a news story a couple months ago because he did a fan expo in Boston, and he started by saying that he didn't want to answer any questions about RoboCop because he's already answered every question somebody could think of about RoboCop. And then somebody kept asking him questions about RoboCop, and he got pretty pissed off. And it's like, great, I understand. Like I get it. Like you don't necessarily want to talk about something you did 40 years ago, he's like, I have multiple advanced degrees. I was friends with Miles Davis. Like there's a lot we can talk about. It's like, yeah, but you are at Fan Expo, an event.
Right. Yeah. Where you're taking their money. You need to talk about
the RoboCop. People just want to talk about RoboCop, man.
Yeah. But if he pulled a gun out of his leg, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
No one's talking about RoboCop.
No.
So, I can't believe you just saw Buckaroo Banzai a few years ago,
Yeah, it was.
and you got so attached. What was the? What do you think made it for you? What do you like?
I think
Okay,
honestly, part of it was sleep deprivation. It
oh,
was shortly after my second daughter was born. I was up in the middle of the night trying to get her back to sleep,
mhm.
and I saw it on. I think it was on Amazon Prime at the time. It jumps month to month, streaming service to streaming service,
Yeah, it's like
as
Hop of
if it
Fame.
was traveling across dimensions. It is. Everyone's like, "Oh, where can I watch it?" I don't know. Like there's a site called Just Watch where you can see where things are currently streaming. Use that. It's on there. And it's like, "Oh, I've heard of that movie. Like it seems like something I would like, but I've never gotten around. I'll just watch it right now." And like 15 minutes in, I was like, "This is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life." But
Now,
10
have you
minutes
watched it
in,
again since then? Because you said you
a
were
lot.
sleep deprived. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Like
checking.
10 minutes in, I was like, "This doesn't make any I don't understand what's happening." And
Mhm.
then somewhere in that 5-minute gap, I'm like, "Nah, this rules, actually." It was the concert scene, like, really won me over
Oh, okay.
because, if anybody watching or listening isn't familiar, and I'm assuming they're not because it's a movie that lost almost its entire budget 40 years ago. So Buckaroo is you see him, he's performing brain surgery, and then he does the jet car experiment where he
Mhm.
drives a jet car through a mountain.
Through a
Then he
mountain.
goes to New Jersey to play a concert with his band.
Mhm.
And during the concert, he like shuts it down because somebody's crying, and
Somebody's crying,
it
yeah.
ends up being his dead wife's lost twin sister.
Twin sister, yeah.
But he's like the
Ellen Barkin.
yeah, he just shuts it down. He's like, "Is somebody not having a good time?" And
Yeah.
as a comedian, I'm like, I don't think I've ever related to something on screen more than the impulse to just like grind a show to a halt because you find the one person not enjoying it. Where I could be on stage and it's going great, but there's just like one person who's just like making a face or whatever the whole time. And it's
Mhm.
like, I no longer care about the people enjoying my comedy. Why don't you? Like, what's your deal?
And that's how you met your wife.
Yeah, she was my long lost wife's
Yeah.
twin.
The wife's twin, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, aliens brought her back at the end. It's fine. But yeah, and it's granted the movie does kind of fall apart after that. It does.
What? It
There's a pretty sharp drop
there
in
is a
quality.
glue with the movie. You gotta watch it again. You gotta think about that.
Well,
Don't
you
make
have
statements like that.
they started with the cinematographer from Blade Runner
Mhm.
and then lost him halfway through production and had to get someone else. So a lot of
Yeah,
it
he was from that, little college in New Jersey.
like yeah, like the concert scene like looks great. There's
Mhm.
not quite enough extras and everyone is doing the weirdest dances you can imagine,
That was the
but like the cinematography of it, it's a beautiful scene.
yeah.
And then it does kind of fall like some of the stuff, the motorcycle chase looks pretty good, but then after that, it just looks like flat. It's like it looks like an episode of the A Team, like visually, which is another thing that I love, but it's not known for its like cinematic quality.
Right. Wow. They always have the shot where the car goes over the camera, it's blowing up, guys are jumping out of it. I
Yeah. Oh,
mean,
there were rad stunts for sure. It was actually
yeah.
probably I haven't looked it up to confirm this, but I would put money on the fact that the stunt helicopter pilot in Buckaroo Banzai also worked on the A Team
Oh,
because
could be.
there was like one dude with a helicopter who did like all the helicopter stuff in the 80s and
Right.
it was I'm sure there were a couple others but there was like one main guy doing it all and basically like if you had a helicopter in your TV show from like 1978 to 1989 this was the cat that you called.
Yeah, he did all the
And
Airwolf stuff too.
yeah, Airwolf, the A Team, anytime there
Yeah.
was a chopper, it was him. Uh,
So I just realized this as we're talking, but and I've been racking my brain trying to remember. So there was a device inside the truck when he goes through the mountain.
yeah, the
That
oscillation overthruster.
oscillation. Thank you. I could
You're
not
welcome.
get that. Do you realize between the flux capacitor and the oscillation overthruster is Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah, and also the guys who designed the DeLorean designed the Buckaroo's jet car.
Oh, so they just like just the repeat. Except, oh
Yeah,
no,
well,
just
the
put it in the truck.
reason the DeLorean has to get to 88 miles an hour is because of Buckaroo. The call sign for the jet car when they were doing the experiment was HB 88,
Yeah,
which is
fantastic.
actually on the back. I gotta take my headphones off, but I have that on
Okay.
the back of this hat
Oh,
as
is that a custom hat or
my
what is that?
team as my team bonsai hat.
Oh yeah, okay.
Uh,
Your headphones were covering up the BB
yeah,
a little bit before. Yeah.
yeah. This was I made this hat like a true dork. I bought the patch
Uh-huh.
online, and then I was walking around a mall. I forget what some like just killing time between shows one day, and they had like a custom embroidery place. I was like, "Can you throw
Mhm.
HB88 on the back of this?" And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Just here's money. Do what I'm asking."
Well, since you're vegetarian, it can't be how many hamburgers you've had. But
No, could be. I'm
um,
trying to remember how many like bad veggie burgers I've had. They're never good. They're never good.
I well, I have a question for you about that, but
Sure.
let's finish up Buckaroo Banzai. So, but I mean, that's fantastic. I applaud you for your infatuation with it. There's not many people, and I don't have a hat. I'll be honest with you. I just love to watch the movie because of
Yeah.
uh, because for whatever reason and I was young when I saw it, so it hit me, and I'm like, there's such a camaraderie to the movie, right? So it's got all these guys in it, and they're all kind of, I mean, it really is a superhero movie, pre mainstream superhero movies, because they don't really have superpowers, but they're all kind of have an identifying thing.
Yeah. Which I
Um,
mean, they cribbed that from Buck Rogers basically,
sure.
where he had, but it was like his was like the 40s version, so it was like cartoonish stereotypes of like he had a German friend and an Irish
Mm,
friend, and like
right.
uh they are
Right.
all also just white dudes. Um
Right.
but yeah, like that's the a thing that I do genuinely love about it is it does feel like when you watch that movie, you're like, "Oh, this is like probably what the third or fourth one of these. Like, I got to go watch the other ones, but there are no
Mhm.
other ones." But
Right. There
like
is only one. Yeah, one off.
they throw you into the middle of this world that does feel a lot bigger than the movie, which is a
Mhm.
shame that they never made the sequel. They did release the sequel as a novel in I think 2021. It came out.
Right. I think there
Um,
was a comic book as well.
Yeah, there've been a few off and
Yeah.
on over because they did the
Mhm.
comic adaptation of the movie,
Right.
Marvel put out in
Mhm.
'84,
Yeah.
and then there was Return of the Screw, and I forget the other run. I think it was from Dynamite Comics.
Hmm.
Those are pretty
I'm
good.
not,
I like the comics more
yeah.
than I liked the novelization of World Crime League.
So, well, so I'm surprised you wrote an Alf spec, right?
Yeah,
No Buckaroo.
no, uh, they've been they've talked off and on over the years about like either doing a reboot or Kevin Smith was attached to do a TV series for a while, but
Mhm.
it was unclear who owned the rights to it. So
Jeff
he like
Goldblum, I would think at this point.
he walked away because he's like, we'll figure it out. Like when when you find out if you can actually make this thing, let me
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and it was the problem is like it was such a flop that like nobody wanted to take credit for it at the
Mhm.
time, and then as
Sniffy.
studios and stuff are changing hands and merging and then going under, and then their catalogs are getting bought out by somebody else, it's like no one's really sure. WD Richter and Earl Mac Rauch, I believe, own the rights to the character, but
Mhm.
if they were going to make a continuation of the film, I think that those rights are what is in question.
So, if you were to cast for this, other than casting yourself, who would be
Yeah, I would play
Buckaroo?
New Jersey, the
Oh,
Jeff
okay. You played
Goldblum
it
part.
just to keep
Uh,
it so people would stop talking to you about
yeah,
Pennsylvania, apparently.
that's what I would want.
Yeah. But
Um,
who would be Buckaroo then?
I've thought about this a lot because he is canonically supposed to be Japanese American.
Correct. Yeah.
It's in the opening crawl. It's like the first thing we learn about him. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, he's a Japanese father and an American mother, and he's just Peter Weller though. Don't worry too much about the Japanese stuff. So I do
Right.
think you need a Japanese American actor to play it
Oh,
because it
there you
is
go.
not even just to be like, oh, well, that's what it's supposed to be, but like it really informs the character. Like it is why he is like his father was obsessed with like American Westerns, so that's why
Yeah.
he gets the name Buckaroo. And you see him meditating, and he's got the samurai sword at
Right.
a couple of times,
Mhm.
and it's like, yeah, like it's informed who he is as a character. So I feel like it should be addressed. But I don't know.
Sean Lennon.
Sold. Yeah. I think he would be great because people I've had a couple of chances to like go to like fan events that Peter Weller was at, and
Mhm.
every time he's doing one like in Jersey or the tri-state area, people are like, "Oh, did you see Peter Weller's going to be here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't like I'm not that attached to Peter Weller.
I'm not
I
going to
know
ask
he's
him about RoboCop.
I
That's for
don't
damn sure.
yeah, I get the impulse, right? Like I would almost certainly ask him something about Buckaroo Banzai, but to his point, I'm like, yeah, we could talk about Miles Davis too, if that's what you want to do,
How
Peter.
would you compare Miles Davis to Buckaroo Banzai?
Peter Weller and Miles Davis were friends.
Yeah.
One
That would
of
be a question to him, and he'd be like, "There's no compare. Why are you asking me that stupid
I'm
question?"
sure Buckaroo would like the music, you know.
Oh yeah, of course. He's a
But
worldly person.
people are like, oh, he's so good in that movie. I'm like, he's fine, but he's admitted, he's like, I didn't understand what this movie was about. I didn't understand what was happening. He is just a lot of the times doing Humphrey Bogart did an interview once where he's talking about how sometimes you're not really sure how to like act a line, like you don't know how to get from what's on the page out.
Mhm.
So sometimes you just got to say it out loud, and that's good enough. And that's what a lot of Peter Weller's performance feels like to me in Buckaroo Banzai, where it's just like he doesn't know what he's just saying words.
You
And
don't think that he really? I mean, he emoted when Ellen Barkin was crying in the audience, and he stops the show. You didn't buy into that acting there?
he absolutely doesn't. He just says, hey, 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 don't
Hey.
be mean. You don't have to be mean. Because remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
There you are. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like so flat, and it works absolutely. Like I'm not saying it's a bad performance. I'm just saying he pretty clearly didn't understand. They wanted Tom Hanks for this thing.
That would have been terrible.
I love Tom Hanks, but yes, it
You're
would have.
just saying that to get a job somewhere, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. That Thing You Do Again, starring Glen Tickle. But yeah, because he would have.
We'll be the band The Tickles.
He would have done. He would have put too much English on the ball, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple jokes in it, but Weller doesn't sell them. He just
No, he's a straight man. He pushes the
he's
plot
doing like
and
Jack
everything.
Benny level comedy of he's not selling the joke. He's letting the joke play out on the people around him, which I do genuinely appreciate. The best joke in the movie is when
don't give it away. My children can't hear this.
John Warfarin has Penny captive, and he calls Buckaroo to like rub it in and demand the trade of the overthruster for Penny's life. And as like a proof of life, the bad guy puts Penny on the phone to like prove that she's alive. And when she starts talking, Buckaroo just goes, Penny, get off the phone. And every time I like laugh at that line because it's so weird. It's like, not like it's great.
But Buckaroo, they've got me.
Yeah. He says it the same way I would say it to my mom if she picked up the extension when I was talking to a friend in the 80s, you know? Like, Mom, what do you
that is lost on a whole generation of
Yeah.
people now. Because there's what do you mean? Is he gonna listen on my cell phone? Has he got some kind of thing going on?
God, I tried explaining Saturday morning cartoons to my kids a while ago, and they didn't understand any part of what I was saying.
Why would you wait for Saturday? They're on all
Just
the
watch
time.
them the rest of the week.
No
It's like,
wonder
no,
he likes Buckaroo Banzai. He doesn't have an idea what's going on.
We had one TV and 5 children, so we'd have to argue every
right.
Saturday morning.
Exactly.
It was just the Thunderdome to try to figure out what shows we were going to be watching.
Exactly. Well, Glenn, I thank you for your time tonight. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't feel bad for ghosting me several times.
It's gonna keep me up at night.
But one last question, because you said you were a vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
And I don't get. I always ask people who seem to be able, I think, can handle this question, because I'm not asking it maliciously.
Okay.
But some people think that it is malicious when I ask it, because they think blue cats are always being sarcastic. But why make a burger vegetarian? Why not make something new?
I have a great answer for this, friend.
Oh, good.
I addressed this very issue on my dry bar special.
Oh,
Uh,
now, well, don't tell me. I'll have to go watch it now. You're spoiling
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'll say just go watch
There you go.
it's on my first album too, but the dry bar special is shorter. But yeah, I've addressed this specific question.
Okay. There you go. It's suspense. We'll
So
carry it
yeah,
over to
do
the next
homework,
thing.
audience. Go look up Glen Tickle
Yeah.
the Favorite on YouTube, and
There you go.
it's in there.
That, and you can watch Chicken Little and hear all about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Glen Tickle, thanks so much. You want to
Thank
say where people can find you other than the big glentickle.com that I put up on the screen?
Sure. That's got links to everywhere. My new special, Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League, is on YouTube, and I'm just at Glen Tickle on all the social medias that I'm still on. So
Oh, which one did you abandon? Will you say?
Twitter, I jumped
Are you on
ship.
Threads?
Yeah, I'm on there.
Does it feel good?
It's starting to feel closer to what Twitter used to be like.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite there yet. Anytime I try to be like, oh, I want to find this old post, like the search feature still is trash. Or I just looked up, there's a comedian named Brian Miller that I really like, and I saw a clip of his. It's like, oh, I'll go see if he made the jump over to Threads yet. And I just searched his name and then searched what I assumed his handle would be. And not only did he not come up in the search, but like nothing relevant to putting in the words Brian Miller showed up.
If you
in
put
any
cut SNL sketch, he'll pop right up.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live credit liar. That's not who I was talking about. Brian Miller is a great dry bar specialist. He's a very funny comic from Minnesota, or in Minnesota, or he's probably been there. He's somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know. My geography.
Somewhere in Minnesota.
I don't know him that well. He's just another comedian that I enjoy.
And now, Bob, you've ruined my connection. Thank you.
Now he's going to be mad. Brian Miller, if you hear this, you're a tremendous comedian. I look forward to working with you someday on our Alf reboot.
Yeah, exactly. Co-writers.
He's going to be playing Alf.
He'll be Alf?
Be Willie. Yeah, he'll be Alf. I'll
Willie!
be Willie.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks for having me.